Hello and welcome back. In this video we're going to be looking at the options or common options that you have for cutting and pasting or copying and pasting. Okay, in the first case you can see that I've populated this table with a little bit of data. I've got the date of birth for these people, and that's their full name, so first and last name, favorite search engine of each person, and here I've broken apart the full name into first name and last name. And I've done that because it's usually more convenient to have that data in separate columns. So I use this column of data and formulas. So this is a formula that will extract the first name. It's actually looking for the space and taking everything to the left of the space. And then this is taking everything to the right of the space. Now these are handy little formulas. They will not work in the case where someone has a first name that has a space in it. So Mary space Joe is not the first and middle name, but the actual first name. Then these formulas don't really hold up in that case. Now in a previous video we looked at flash fill as an alternate way to pull out this information. And that would be honestly a better option, but for the sake of the tutorial, we're just going to use these formulas. Okay, now let's say for some reason I needed to copy and paste just the dates to another location on the sheet. So I can highlight them and copy them. Click where I want to go, and when I paste, you see there's a whole series of options. If I choose the first, it's going to paste exactly what I copied. So in this case, it pasted a series of dates. It included the formatting. If I highlight this bit of data and copy it and use that first paste option, you'll notice I'm getting a little bit of an error. And the reason for that is that this cell that I copied from, the second cell, contains a formula, and the formula is referring to B2. So B2 is on the same row and 2 columns to the left of the formula. So when this was pasted, it's looking in the same row, number 6, and 2 columns to the left. So it's looking at cell H6. And you can see that referenced in here. And of course, there's nothing in H6, so I'm getting an error. So this is an important concept to keep in mind. When you cut and paste a formula, it's going to increment for the relative position, and it's going to try to paste the formula by default. So let's try this instead. I'm going to copy it again. This time when I go to paste, I'm going to pick the second option, and that says values. So in this case, what it's pasting is the result of the formula. Instead of taking this formula, it's taking Joe, because Joe was the value derived from the formula. And that can be very, very handy. As a matter of fact, if we have, let's take something, we'll just say some random numbers. Okay. And the formula I'll put in here is rand between 1 and 100. And that's just going to generate a random number between 1 and 100. The problem with this is that it's going to refresh often. So when I do something else on the page, those numbers are all going to change. And if I want to just generate some random numbers but then lock them in, a method would be to copy them and then simply paste the values right over the formula. And while that process may cause them to change once, now they are actual numbers. So one example of a use of pasting values. Now an alternate choice you have is to actually paste the formulas themselves. And I don't find too much use for this one, where it says formulas here. simply because that's what it's going to do by default, and I've really never had a case where it tried to do something different. But if there is a case where you need to take the formulas and ensure that they're going in as formulas, you can pick this option. Now again, this doesn't work because of the way it incremented, but if you've got a long and complex formula and you'll simply need to make one change to it, or if perhaps you're copying a formula that contains absolute references that will remain in the formula, then I guess that could be an option. Okay, let me clean up my data a little bit. Okay, in the next example, we're going to look at pasting or transposing when we paste. So in other words, I have these nice names here, but I really wanted them to run horizontally. So I'll take them and copy them. And then when I paste, there's this nice transpose option. And you can see now it's Joe Smith, Mary Jones, Roger Dodger. So it follows the same order, but horizontally instead of vertically. Now the last option I'm going to look at today is to paste formatting. So this first column, I've changed some background colors on some cells. I've italicized the information in here. So this has got several formats applied to it. Now I could do it by a single cell, so I could click on DOB. This is centered and bolded. And I could copy that. And over here when I paste, I'm going to paste formatting only. Oh, and if let's come in here and put a border on this as well. So it's got a nice sharp black border now. Okay, it will pick up all of that formatting. Now in this particular case, the simplest thing might have been to use the format tool. But in other cases, know that you can apply formatting basically using a copy command without changing the data in the cells. Now you don't have to do that one cell at a time. I'm going to pick the entire column's worth here. Notice this does have borders. So I'm going to click the entire column. I'm going to copy that. And if I were to just paste this now, a regular paste, I would be substituting that data into each of those cells. But instead I'll just pick formatting, and that will finish off the formatting on my table. So just another option for you. Okay, and that concludes our tutorial on copy and paste options in Excel.